It's really supernatural. It's so good to have a studio audience. My guest, David Herzog, his father is Jewish, and at 13, he had a bar mitzvah like no bar mitzvah you've ever seen. It wasn't fountain pens. It wasn't all the big party. He had a visitation from the Messiah of Israel. And he was commissioned to teach on the glory. He understood by going to heaven what the glory or the manifest presence of God, when God invades a place, he got revelation of this, and he's known. It's interesting. The word glory was mentioned in his visitation, and that's what he's known for teaching throughout the world. When he teaches on the glory, and I can tell you, I'm an eyewitness to this. This isn't secondhand. I literally was sitting in front of a woman with gray hair, and all of a sudden I saw brown hair start just radiating from her. Throughout the course of the night, it was turning browner and browner. I have seen people lose weight instantly in this glory realm. People, now this I haven't seen, but I got reports of people that did not have hair. Hair would come out. People that had metal in their body, the metal would turn to bone. David Herzog, now this is absolutely ridiculous. We have in the studio audience a man that had a meeting just a couple of weeks ago, invited you to speak, and they kept adding up the total of the offering they took, and the reason they kept adding it up is it kept getting larger. This should not happen.
It's a great problem to have when you have to keep counting.
I mean, how would you like to count your money every night and see it multiply? Are there any accountants out there? That'll blow your mind. So, David, tell me this encounter you had at bar mitzvah age.
I was 13 years old at this youth camp, and they said, "Who wants the Holy Spirit?" I said, "I do."
I do.
All right then, guys, let's get up and walk right this way.
I ran up there waiting in the line, and this guy in front of me starts crying before we got to the front to get prayer. And I said, "Why are you crying? Does it hurt?" He goes, "No, it feels great." I thought it hurt because he was crying.
Great.
Why would a guy cry if it hurts? So I waited, and then suddenly this warmth came on my body, and I started crying, and I felt this pure liquid love. And suddenly I was taken to heaven, and I saw the thrones of God, I saw the Father, the Son, and suddenly this voice came out and said, "You're going to travel for my glory." And I think all night I was praying in tongues, which is a foreign language from heaven. And I couldn't stop praying. And I knew from that day something changed in my life when I saw heaven.
Tell me the first miracle of note that occurred after this experience.
Yeah, I was asked to teach a little group of young people. They were like maybe 7, 8 years old.
Hi, kids.
On a Sunday morning. So I taught them from this manual that they gave me. And I got kind of bored teaching from the manual, so I kind of went off the script and I said, "Listen, kids, let's just pray for someone that's sick. Don't tell the pastor because I might get in trouble, but let's just pray and see what happens. Don't tell them I didn't follow the weekly thing because they might not like that." And so a little girl comes out and says, "Look at my leg, it's so short compared to the other one. I've got, I think it was scoliosis." And I said, "Sure, let's pray for that and see what happens." And I closed my eyes on my first miracle, and her leg instantly began to grow out, and the kids began screaming, "Look at her leg, look at her leg." And I opened my eyes, and her leg had grown out, but I had missed watching my first miracle.
That's okay, you've had many since. So David literally goes to Bible school, and then he feels God's told him to go to France. Now, I have to tell you, if I was picking countries, no offense for those watching us right now in France, I would not have picked France. That is a graveyard for people that talk about God. And so David, no one knows him. Would you believe he had the longest standing revival move of God's Spirit in France in 50 years, but he had to get a revelation from God on how to have this move of God's Spirit in this graveyard, so to speak. What did God tell you?
Yeah, well, I remember when that revival hit, right before I said, God, I'm so desperate. I'm so hungry. And I took time off. I began to seek the Lord, to pray. But one of the things God showed me when I got to France, I said, Lord, how do we touch this country? It's so hard. He said to me, I went on a fast. And he said, during the fast, here's the secret. You do what Paul did. Paul was the expert on touching the Roman Empire, which is Europe. He said he went to the Jew first. And he says, I go to the Jew first to make them jealous and win some of them. And in return, God would magnify his ministry to the Gentiles. It says it right there. I magnify my ministry to the Gentiles by making the Jews jealous and saving some. So I went to Israel. I led 13 people to the Lord. When I got back, I had nonstop revival for the next 5 years, every single week.
What types of things did you see happen?
Oh, crazy things. In that revival, a girl was picked up off the ground, 13 centimeters, lifted and floated in the air during the revival. She was weeping for souls. She flipped over like a pancake, and she was having a heavy set too, heavyweight girl, so it was even a bigger miracle. And she stayed up there for a few seconds, went back down on the ground. At that moment—
Wait a second. If she was 90 pounds, that would have been a big miracle.
And at that moment, all these young people ran up to be saved, and demons are coming out of them. And that launched that 6-month revival, which was the longest running in 50 years in one place.